Hello and welcome to Whittle Waffle. I'm Stacey Whittle. It is 14th of March 2023 and I'm here to talk at you for a little while about all the things that I've been reading or listening to, watching, other nerdy rubbish, and knitting and spinning at the end as always, so that if you're not a knitter or a spinner or you're not interested in that stuff, you can bugger off, or head away and shite, as I like to say in Newcastle. Where to start? I feel weirdly nervous. It's not been that long, has it? For all of the 5 of you that you watch, no need to be nervous. We could just be in the pub, couldn't we? Anyway, what have I been reading? Well, I'm pretty sure that I talked last time about the Inspector Gamache series by Louise Penny, and that I'd watched the television series, which I loved, and then I'd become addicted to the books. So at this point, I've just finished book 4 and started book 5. I finished books 3 and 4 recently. I can't remember where I was at the last time we chatted. The last book, which was, I think it was called A Rule Against Murder, but it's this weird thing because when I go to log them on Goodreads, they've all got different names. Like the book 1 has got several different titles, so I don't know if they changed the title in different countries. I don't know, but they're not all the same, I know that much. But in this version was called A Rule Against Murder. And I particularly enjoyed this one because one of the episodes of the television series was based on this book. And it was really interesting to see what bits that kept in the book and what bits that got rid of, and how there was just a little bit of a different tone in the book to what was on screen. So there has been a couple of other stories that I've read that were in episodes of the series, but this one was the first one with like both big and subtle changes. And do you know, it's one of the ones where you can appreciate both stories. Now, I don't know if I would still have that feeling had I read the book first. I don't know if I'd be like, well, that's not right, like that, which as nerds we all absolutely love to do. Relish it, some might say. But actually I just found it really interesting to say, oh right, well that's, they took that bit and that bit, but they've left that bit behind and they've glossed over the sort of relevance and importance of that, and that makes sense. That's got a more would make a better television than a book. And yeah, so it's like, it was more like interesting rather than outrage from this camp here. And I've already started on book 5, so I just absolutely have fallen in love with this series. I was actually talking to my friend about it yesterday because I've managed to get her hooked as well. And it's like, it's not just the stories, it's the people, and it's very much the place and the food. You know, it's like one of those sets of stories where all of those things are important, and you can sort of, when they're sitting in the bistro, you can smell the croissants and the cafe au lait, and there's just something quite, I've said this last time, I won't go on and on, but there's something quite magical about them when they can make you feel so at home in a place which isn't even your country. Like, it's more understandable if it's your country, like you can imagine it more, but it's not. It's Canada, and I've never been to Canada. But it feels familiar, and I don't think this current obsession is gonna fade anytime soon. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really enjoying. I am listening to them rather than reading them, and the narrator, whose name I've forgotten to write down, but I think is Adam Sims or Sim or Andrew Sim. It's an A word in either Sim or Sims. I might be at him. He gets some voices so great and others are great on us slightly, and I don't know why. So I think overall he's a brilliant narrator. There's just a couple of the voices that he does, I think, brings you out a little tiny bit, but not enough to spoil anything. I think audio narration is a talent like no other, because you've got to not just find voices for all of these characters that are changing second by second by second, but you've got to be consistent in those voices because you hear it straight away. And yeah, he's really good at that. There's like absolute consistency. So I really admire that, because I don't think I could do it. I can't even get through a bedtime story from a kid. So yeah, so still really in there. The other book that I read recently in the last couple of weeks is the new Kelly Armstrong book. So a little bit of a backstory, because you know I love to talk about the things that I love, which is why we're here. Kelly Armstrong is an author I've been reading for a very long time, and I got into her when she used to write a series of books which became known as Women of the Other World books, although that wasn't what the series was called initially. And they're sort of like paranormal romance / urban fantasy, probably more in the paranormal romance field. And those books were about like that. They were set in the modern world, in our world, but sort of werewolves were real and vampires were real, and they all have their own rules, and the world building is really quite extraordinary. And witches are one way, and warlocks are another, and witches and warlocks hate each other, and werewolves hate pretty much everyone. They don't really want to eat you, they just want to be left alone, most of them. And I was obsessed with the series. There was something like 14 books in that series, and I just absolutely loved them. And I own a lot of them, and I've reread them quite a lot. They're proper favourites. So she has done some other series I like some more than others, and some are also paranormal, like have a fantasy element. So there's a book that she did, the Canesville series, which I was like waiting, pre-ordering and waiting for the books to come out so I can read them. I was obsessed with those as well. I loved them. And then she did this series called that was called the Rockton Series, and it doesn't have a fantasy element, but you kind of get, I thought I would try it anyway, and I did really like it. There's 7 books in that series, and I've read all of them. And the premise is that if you get into really serious trouble with the law, if you're hiding for somebody, if you need a safe space, then you can pay a lot of money to be whisked away into, it's also set in Canada actually, go figure, whisk away to this middle of nowhere place in Canada that's a tiny little village in the forests, like miles from anywhere, hundreds of miles from anywhere. And then this little village, you have to stay for a minimum of 2 years and a maximum of 5 years, and you pay a lot of money to be there. But when you're there, because of there's no electricity and there's no internet and there's no anything, you kind of have to work. So you know, some people chop wood and some people walk the perimeter, some are builders and joiners and menders and makers or whatever. And there's always something happening, usually a murder. So it's a little bit of a detective series. The main character is a detective, and her love interest is the sheriff of that town. And it's a great series, full of characters again, and I really enjoyed it. Although it does take some suspension of belief, but she's really good at writing that, like the way it's set. And I think she lives in that area of Canada. It is Canada. It's Canada. So the Rockton series ended with the last book, and I was really sad about it because I'd really come to love those characters, and it didn't feel like their stories were finished. And then the new book, Haven's Rock. So this is the start of a new series, and I can't tell you why it's moved because it would be a spoiler for the end of the old series. Sorry, what is that? Oh, it's my necklace. Sorry. It would be a spoiler for the new series, but it is a continuation. So I think if you just picked up book 1 of the Haven's Rock series, you'd be in trouble because it's got so much back history that you need to read the Rockton series first. So the first book came out this month, and I was very excited about it and bought it straight away on my Kindle and read it in a day, and then regretted doing that because it was over and I'd waited that long for it. Does anybody else do that? Just all up in one gulp and then it's gone, and then you've run out of book? Yeah, it was good though. So I really do like, she's written some comics, she's written some young adult books and some time travel ones. I've read one and it was okay, but I'm not a big, apart from Doctor Who, not a massive time travel, and the Time Bandits. Oh, actually, maybe I do like time travel. Maybe I just don't like reading it. I don't know. It wasn't. I don't think it was quite. I haven't bothered picking up the second one or the novellas. Put it that way. But you can't like everything. But I really like this. So that is everything that I have been reading and listening to lately. I am still reading the Mike Rinder A Billion Years book, but I haven't got any further with it really. I need to stop watching him on the YouTubes to read his book. Anyway, so yes, so that's all of that. I'm just checking my list because my memory is dreadful. There we go. So watching. Only 3 things, but all exciting. Number 1, finished season 9 of the Blacklist, and I've talked about the Blacklist before. I've talked to you about my deep and abiding passion for James Spader, which will never leave me. It's forever now. It's been what, 30 years? It's not going away. Season 10 has started in the US, and it's not on UK telly yet at all. Just, it's not. And because I've obviously Googled it and shit before, stuff keeps coming. You know, when you go and click onto Google and it tells you things you might be in. No, don't tell us about season 10 of the Blacklist. Spoilers. So I'm having to be really careful, even though I'm not subscribed to anything where I could get spoilers. Google hates me. So yeah, so I'm finding this a bit frustrating because I know it's there and it's the last series, and that hopefully means some answers. And I don't even think there's a date. I don't even think there's a channel. It's the last series. Come on. So I'm very frustrated. I really enjoyed season 9. It is without, I'm trying to be spoiler free here as well. It is without a main character, and I wondered how that would feel and whether it would be the same. And it's not, but actually how it's been handled, I really liked it, and the twist at the end had my jaw on the floor and then made us cry. It was that good. It was that good and unexpected. If you saw it coming, like, kudos to you, but I didn't see it coming, and I was just like, and I don't want to give anything away just in case anyone does fancy. I'm sure I said this the last time that my sister couldn't get past season 1 because there's not enough, that they keep you on the hook too long and there's not enough given, and I understand that completely. And she doesn't have the same level of lust for James Spader, which maybe's kept me in there. And speaking of my sister, I am trying to get her to do one of these with me, and we just haven't been able to get lined up, but hopefully on the next one then it will be Whittle's Waffle. Although she's technically a Morris, but you know. So hopefully I'll have my sister as a special guest on the next episode. Fingers crossed. Yeah, so I understand, like, if people don't like it, but I can understand if you like me. I have both. I'm such a strange person, really, in that, like, sometimes I don't mind being strung along and being kept waiting, and other times it will make us just turn it off straight away and just like, nah. Pfft. And sometimes I don't like being strung along if I know I'm being strung along. So this is not going to make me sound like a good person. You know, when I first watched John Wick, I ended up really angry and also like flicking through my phone, because as soon as the dog appeared, I knew what was going to happen to the dog. I knew. And just them just spinning it out just made us madder and madder. And I was just thinking, just fucking kill the dog. Pardon me French. Let's get on with it. Because we all knew it was going to happen. So I just got cross with the waiting. And when we rewatch it now, I fast forward that bit. This doesn't make me look good, does it? Like some... Anyway, the other thing is, you know the film The Punisher, the Tom Jane one? Oh, Tom Jane. And the John Travolta. And I really like that. And actually, I tell my teenagers all the time, a side story that makes us look worse. There's a bit in the Tom Jane Punisher movie where John Travolta rips all the piercings out of this guy's face. Knocks me a bit sick. So every time my teenagers come, I want to get some piercings in my face, I go, it's your body, but just remember that bit in the Punisher when he pulled them all out of his face, and just you think about that for 5 minutes, and then off you pop. They've got fake ones. Think about that. What if you, like, I catch me clothes on the door all the time. What if you caught your face on the door? I think they look really exciting. My friend has one up here. I think it looks so cool. But like, I would have that ripped out within 3 days on my toothbrush or something. Maybe it's because I'm an inherently clumsy person. Anyway, that's by the by. So the beginning of the Tom Jane Punisher movie has him and all of his family wafting about in white linen, being perfect. And that irritated us as well, because I knew what was going to happen, because I know the background of the Punisher. And I think I'd read some comics. I had read some comics, so I knew what was going to happen. So I knew that his whole family's getting wiped out. So them all wafting about in the white linen just had me like, where's the machine gun? And that makes me a bad person, and I know that. However, for some reason with the Blacklist, I'm quite happy to be strung along, even though I know I'm being strung along. I don't know what this says about me, and I'm not sure I should be putting all this information out into the world, but there you go. What was I saying? Blacklist, yeah. So yes, I'm just desperate to watch season 10 now. I need it. But we're stuck here at the moment. Let's see what happens. The other thing I started watching is Star Trek, the original series, from the very beginning. Now, I haven't watched it. I'm quite a big Star Trek fan, but I've never watched it in order. I've only ever watched it while it's been on, and so some episodes are really familiar and I've seen them several times. Some episodes it turns out I haven't seen at all. It turns out I'd never seen the pilot, so that was really exciting, but then also kind of ruined it a little bit, because sort of a few episodes in, they use all the footage from the pilot to make like a nice resolve for something else, and I loved that. That was great. But would I have thought it was great if I hadn't seen that? I don't know. Anyway, I loved it. So the pilot was so different, and Spock had his hair all ruffled up like madness, and big fluffy eyebrows like that. Oh, it was very exciting. And the other thing is, we sort of have it drummed into our, I don't know if it's like the Mandela effect thing, that that Uhura's always in a red dress, and she's not, she's quite often in gold. And all of them, except for Bones, the colours of their tops don't seem to denote, oh, freaking perimenopause. They don't seem to show what they are. Like, you know, in Next Generation, gold is command staff and security, and blue is definitely medical, and that sort of thing. That doesn't seem to be the case, and the colour just change. Also, they've got a serious amount of fake tan going on, which can be quite distracting, and also a serious amount of eye makeup on the men that I find quite distraction. But I think it's because it's been souped up HD, and some effects have been restored or improved. I think so. Aside from that, just really loving it. It's really, really, really good, and it really stands up almost all of the time. And there's a few odd things, like the length of the ladies' dresses are so that they've got matching knickers on and can't bend over without flashing your giant red knickers. There's a little bit of its timeness about it, let's put it that way. But actually the stories are great, and I'm really enjoying it. And you forget how pretty the old Shatner was. Eloise always had the charisma. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about it really, except for I'm really enjoying it. And I am one of those people now that IMDb every episode for trivia, and I like reading some things, like for the episode, I think it's called Mirror or something like that, where it's the Grups, you know, that one, which was very familiar. I remembered that one, watching that one several times when I was younger, and I really loved that episode. It's most, the cast brought all their kids in, so the little girl Shatner's holding towards the end, when he's all messed up and his clothes are in ribbons and he's holding this dirty child, that's his child, which is his daughter, which I quite liked. I also quite like that they asked Leonard Nimoy if he wanted to bring his children, and he went, no. Good for you. I hope I got paid. So yes, I'm really enjoying watching Star Trek TOS. So Blacklist, Star Trek, okay. So the other thing I've been watching is Luther. So I knew the film was coming out. So the film version of Luther, starring Idris Elba, is called Fallen Star. So I knew it was coming out, and I knew I hadn't seen series 5. So I decided to go back to the beginning and watch the whole lot in preparation for Friday, just gone, when the movie was landed on Netflix. Oh my god, it's so creepy. I mean, it's borderline horror, and in some cases actually horror. I'm going to give spoilers for the series, but I won't give spoilers for the movie, because I think that's fair, because like the first series of Luther's, I mean, it's been out a long time now. Some of the bodies are so horrifically scary. Like there's one where a woman goes to bed and he's under her bed and he slithers out. Oh, honestly, having nightmares about some of the things. It is quite scary. Season 5, which actually I won't give spoilers for, because it's not, people might not, or they might want to refresh and stuff, but there's a couple of stuff in there that had me like actually out of my seat. The bit on the bus, anybody who does know has seen it. The bit on the bus, anybody who hasn't, that's not really a spoiler. Absolutely horrifying. Also, I love the actress Hermione Norris. I have such a crush. She's beautiful and haughty, and she's so good in that. She's always great in everything that she's in, but she's proper evil in that. She's great. I've enjoyed watching the series, although I've been a bit scared, like the giant wuss that I am. I've enjoyed watching them so much, and Idris Elba is fabulous. He's just fabulous, but so is Ruth Wilson, and I think she's. I'm glad they didn't overuse her, but she's still a miss. Justin. Oh. Here's some opinions of mine, which is what you're here for, so you know, there's no good judging. Luther, much like the Doctor, needs a companion to keep him on the straight and narrow. They've both got the long flappy coats as well, huh? And when he doesn't have one, he falters very badly. And like, I wouldn't want to be his partner though, because they don't last very long. But when he's all by himself, he's you can go down the bad lad route. That's what I think. Anyway, exciting things. When we watched season 4, I think it was season 4, or was that season 5 as well? No, I think season 5 as well. That the girl who played his partner, I might hear some background noise because my little one has been, it's way past her bedtime, so I might hear Dad running up downstairs. What was I saying? I've distracted myself. Oh, yes. So the girl who plays his partner, it is season 5, was in Loki. She's the girl from Loki, the beautiful black woman. And I was like, I know her. What do I know her from? But what is it? So it's obviously straight on IMDb. And I was like, oh, of course, it's her. And she's been in loads of stuff actually, but that's the geeky reference. And she's excellent. I'm getting myself all in circles, trying not to give any spoilers away. So anyway, end of season 5, everything's in a particular way. Come to Friday to watch the movie, The Fallen Star, and now it's the same writer and the same director, I think, Jamie somebody. I think he did direct season 5 of Luther and the movie. I'm sorry, my necklace is distracting me with a god flash. It's not seamless. The stuff that happens at the end of season 5 is left on a cliffhanger. I think that's okay to say. Season 5 is left on a cliffhanger. They make it into a different cliffhanger, and I just was watching it feeling really confused. Like, hang on a minute, that doesn't make any sense, and that didn't happen. And it's not like it's a different writer trying to slot in. It's the same writer. And I just think there's got to have been a smoother transition from the way season 5 ended, and it was very dramatic, cliffhanger ending, that it should have been seamless. If they were going to have the film follow on directly from the events of season 5, which is what they did do, and referenced bits of season 5, then that has to be seamless. You can't have it like this. It has to be like this. And it actually it takes you out as well, because you start thinking, well, that's not what happened. And you don't want to be taken out of something like that, because it does take a lot of suspension of belief for these. Or you hope it's suspension of belief, because that bit on the bus. Like, there is a suspension of belief needed. So if you're going to take somebody out of that immediately, then that's a problem. And I found it to be a problem. However, I still really, really, really enjoyed it. I thought you do have to let some things go because it's silly and some of it doesn't make sense. But overall, does it stand up to the series? That's what I think. And I think maybe no. I think maybe it would have been better as a so many parter, and that would have made more sense to have more time to let that story breathe. However, there was a lot to like, and I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm saying that just be aware that it's not without problems. However, Idris Elba got it, and he's looking fine. And there's a lot good. I love the guy who plays Schlenk Brain, who's been in it since series 1. I love him. I really like the woman who was the DCI. She was great. Andy Serkis, of course, wearing the most bizarre wig. Like you should have been wearing a velour tracksuit with it. It was like that sort of, and loads of jewellery. It was an odd and distracting choice of a hairdo, but he's, as he is in everything, absolutely wonderful. And I think that character could have tipped over into Panto, and I think he walked that line perfectly because he was an over-the-top villain, but he didn't go into full-on scenery chewing. It was really very, very good performance. I think I need to watch it again because, like I say, I was distracted by the bits that didn't make sense from because I just watched season 5 as well. Maybe if there'd been a bit of time between watching it and this, then it wouldn't have been so jarring, but it did jar. However, it's really fun. It's really, as well, I was talking to the husband about it, and we were both saying it felt like it was missing something, and although it had a lot of the same elements, it looked really slick, and I wonder if that actually took something away because there's something about it that was really gritty. And the other thing I thought was that in all of the series, it's been really, really rooted in a place, and that place is London, and there's like, you've seen horrible bits of it and beautiful bits of it, and the underside of it and the marketing you've seen, and it's all been very much there, and it was that not so much the case in the movie, and there is a sort of slickness to it. There's a grittiness, I think, missing despite the subject matter. I am talking myself in circles, trying not to give any spoilers away, but this is my opinion. It was lacking a little bit of grittiness. It was lacking a bit of cohesiveness. But at the end of the day, how fab to have Luther back on the screen. How fab to see that character back. How fab to see that character kicking bottom. And I hope that's not the end of it, because despite us having a few misgivings, it was really entertaining and fun and disturbing, and you can't help but love him. So yeah, that was my thoughts on that. I've talked way longer than I meant to. I think it's because I've talked myself around the world trying to get there. So on to other nerdy stuff. Not a lot. I have been doing a little bit more writing, and as and when that comes out, I will share it with you. So that's been fun and taken me so far out of my comfort zone. But I'm enjoying it. But I'll share more about that when it's out, because I feel weird talking about it. not long till Lawless. I've written that down. So I'm only doing 2 conventions, I think, this year. One of them is coming up very soon in May, and that's the Lawless Comic Con in Bristol. And it's with particular emphasis on British comics, and I'm really excited. So I've been doing a bit of panel plotting with Sue, and so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. The guest list is outstanding again this year, and I'm so looking forward to it. Such a nice bunch of people. Yeah, so can't wait for Lawless. The only other one that I'm doing is For the Love of Horror in October, and as I've talked about a lot, I'm not really the horror fan. The other half is. However, a lot of actors that have done horror have also done geeky, nerdy sci-fi or fantasy, and the main draw this year is Chris Sarandon, who was obviously in The Princess Bride, one of the best films ever made. So yeah, and he's in his 80s now, so really exciting. So that's it. The other thing, here's a trick I learned today. If you get dressed up and do a load of makeup as Poison Ivy is who I got dressed up for my cousin's little one's party, and what you need to do is wash your makeup brushes. There's my handy hint for you. If you've done your whole face green and then you're getting ready to go out and you do your whole makeup, and then you pick up your brush and you put a big streak of dark green instead of brush it down your face, you look ridiculous. Wash your brushes. Hints for life. Come for the nerdy, stay for the makeup tips. Should have took a photo. Looked ridiculous. So that's it. I don't have a lot of nerdy stuff at the minute. I do have some knitting and spinning. I'll start with the spinning, I think. Excuse my giant face. So I don't know if I mentioned before that I bought a fleece, Blueface Leicester fleece, and I bought 2 small ones, and I washed the first one, which went really well, and I had started hand carding it, which is for the non-knitters spinners who have stuck around. It's where you take the dry clean fleece and you put it on what basically looks like a big hairbrush or a pet brush, and you lay it out and you take another one and you sort of just comb it, and it's very much like combing hair, and you comb it and comb it and comb it and comb it till it gets all clean and tat free, and then you sort of roll it up into what's called a rowlag, which I've got one here. See this fluffy goodness? It's sort of fallen apart a little bit now because it's been stuck in a bag for a little while, but there's this fluffy goodness, and then you can just spin that from the end, like this way, and just spin it by pulling out the fibres and letting twist run up into your spinning machine. You spin a wheel, or I've been using my electric eel wheel, which I'll see if I can show you. This is it. This is the electric eel wheel 6, which I absolutely love. I had they did a very small version, which I have shown on here before, called the Nano, and I could never really get to grips with the Nano. The bobbins were so tiny, I felt like by the time I got a handle of it and got some wool on there, the bobbin was full, and I found it quite frustrating. But this machine with these big bobbins, it's just a dream. I've had no problems with it, no snags. It's 3D printed, apart from the metal bits, obviously. There's some things I like better on this one. So on the Nano, the hooks that you use to maintain the tension of the wool going onto the bobbin and to help fill the bobbin up evenly, you move these hooks up and down, so you can see then it fills up the bobbin, and the help tension. This is called the orifice because so many things in knitting and spinning sound filthy. This is the orifice, what was I saying? Yes, and then this is where it feeds in, and then it goes with the metal hooks, and there's some metal ball bearings and things like that, and springs, but the rest of it is 3D printed, including the bobbins are 3D printed. Spinning wheels are horrifically expensive, and e-spinning wheels are also horrifically expensive. A brand new spinning wheel, for example, I don't know if you know, I'm not going to move it because it took ages to get set up. I have my spinning wheels behind is one here and one here. I have an Ashford traditional, which I got second hand, which is £150, and it's not in the bestest condition, but it works. And I have a Kromsky Fantasia, which I love. It's a double treadle, and it's not a traditional style wheel, a traditional style wheel looks like your Sleeping Beauty type malarkey, whereas mine's more like a castle style, so it's the wheel and the pedals are straight in front, and the flyer comes towards you, so it's quite compact, and I love it. So brand new, I think that worked out is about £350 for the new one, £150 for the second hand one. The Ashford e-wheels are about £1,000, just under £1,000. This one, which is 3D printed, I got for it was just over £200 through the Kickstarter, although you can buy them now. You got some special stuff with a Kickstarter, like I got a Lazy Kate, which is 3D printed as well, and some extra bobbins, and it can run off a battery pack or a plug. So I'd got did I pay extra to get a UK plug? Possibly, because they're made in the US, so we have different plugs. Here with all of the knowledge for you, we have different plugs. I love this machine. It is so good. It has a speed dial. It has this. Mine's filthy as well because it's got some spinning material. This chooses which direction it goes. So if it's spinning clockwise, we call that Z spin, or Z spin, and anti-clockwise is S spin. You tend to spin your singles, which is what you've just one single strand, your singles, Z, and you ply S. So when you're spinning, you have to spin one way and ply the other, otherwise all of the twist that you've put in will come straight out and it'll just be a mess. And we've all done it. What's going wrong? Why is this happening? And you've tried to ply it the same way that you've spun it. But it's dead easy. It's just a switch. There's a tension knob here, so this holds the bobbin. As it gets fuller, you might need to adjust your tension. I've got a bit of twine on there at the minute because the string snapped and I couldn't find anything other than garden twine that I don't know why I own, because I don't have a garden. I have a yarding. Anyway, it's lightweight. As you can see, I've been holding it in my hand this whole time. It's an absolute dream. I have a giant TARDIS in the living room because I'm that person that my daughter just gave me, and this lives in there. I have a TARDIS with a spinning wheel in it in my living room. Because why wouldn't you? Oh, I was going to show you the actual. So this is the fleece that I spun. I don't know if you can really. If I move my head out of the way, will it focus? Who knows? Anyway, it's pretty. It's going really well. And I've showed you the roll legs look like. It's all really pretty. However, so the first fleece went really well. Washed it, carded most of it. I've started spinning it. Lovely. So I thought, I better wash that second fleece because I didn't want to put it away dirty. I'm new to processing fibres. It's only the third one that I've done. I didn't want to put it away dirty. I thought, well, I'll wash it and dry it, and then I'll stick it in a pillowcase and stick it in my wool cupboard. However, I think what I've done is when you wash it, you need to wash, surprisingly, you need to wash your fleece in quite hot water to get all the lanolin and the dirt, not all the lanolin, but a lot of the lanolin, the grease in the sheep's fleece and the muck and we call it veggie matter to mess around, because there's some actual veggie matter like grass and straw and stuff, but often it's poop and wee. And to get all of that out, you put in hot water, and then you need to take it out and put it in the same temperature water. So you need to do that a couple of times, and then to rinse it, you just do the same. Take it out, put it back in clean water of the same temperature. Otherwise, it's the change in the temperature that can make it felt. And I think I didn't. I think I let it sit too long, and the water had cooled, and then I put it in hot water after being in cooler water, and it's slightly felted. So I haven't tried to comb it out yet because I'm a bit scared about it. So it's clean and dry, and it is looking a bit felted, but when I get to it, we'll see. It might be able to, that I can brush it out enough to spin it. And if not, I've learned a lesson that wasn't too expensive, because I think it was only about £6 or £7 for the fleece direct from the farmer. So it's not the end of the world. It's a lesson. And it might be a salvageable one, so we'll see. The other things I've been knitting recently is I knit a Cloudbow top by, I think the designer's called Reed Keys, and I am in stinking love with this thing. So I knitted out of Drops Flora, which is a sock wool. I can't remember what it's made up of, and I haven't brought the ball band because I'm not that organised tonight. I finished this the other day, Friday. I finished it, put it on, felt like the prettiest girl in the world. Turned around, caught it on the door handle and ripped a huge hole in it. I couldn't believe it. So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll have seen, because I put pictures on of that. And I did manage to fix it. So I'll talk to you a little bit about the top first. This Drops sock wool is actually lovely. It's really nice. I would use it again. The top is got I don't know if you can even see it, but it's got a really interesting construction. So you knit basically a rectangle, 2 rectangles for front and back, and then you pick up stitches all the way around for the arms, and then you knit those flat for a bit, and then you join in the round to knit the rest of the sleeve. And then when you've done the 2 sleeves, you pick up along the seam here, which is the end of the bottom of the I nearly said oblong because I'm 5, rectangle, add in another load of stitches, and you sort of knit like a sort of peplum. So I didn't stick entirely to the pattern because for the sleeves I had a different finish, but I just did an I-cord, which I think is really pretty. I love an I-cord edging. I just think it looks so, well, pretty, like I just said. So I did that, and it feels really, really nice on my arm. I also did an I-cord around the neck, but it's too wide, so I need to just go back in and sew up, because when I first put it on, it was fine, but it is coming like a off the shoulders, or it's doing this business, which I don't mind, but it means that it's not hanging right at the bottom. So I'm gonna just sew up. You can see how wide it is. I sew up a little bit on each side so it sits a little bit more on my shoulder rather than off my shoulder. I also ignored the bottom instructions and just did an I-cord at the bottom as well. I'll see if I can find where I fixed it. So this is where I fixed it. I don't know if you can see. It doesn't look too bad. Like, I don't think you would spot it if I didn't point it out. It's such a large gauge anyway, which means like the stitches are really open. So you can see it's a little bit wrong there, but it's, I don't think you can, especially because that rolls a little bit at the bottom, you can't see. However, I wore it for 2 days and it's snagging on everything. So you can see, can you see there? I snagged it on a flipping basket in the supermarket. I snagged it on something else. So it's, I'm just going to have to live with the fact that because of the big open airy gauge of the top, it's going to snag and there's nothing I can do about it. But it doesn't stop it being really pretty. It is oversized. I can't even get it. Look at the sleeves though. They've got proper big baggy sleeves and the I-cut just brings them in a little bit. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. And I'm a UK size 18 to 20, so in the US that would be 16 to 18, I think. And I made the 5th size, which was quite nice actually, because usually it's like the biggest or the second biggest size, but the 5th size, which is somewhere in the middle, which made me feel very skinny indeed. I love it so much in the construction, and because of the way it's constructed, these stitches go this way and these stitches go that way. I just love it. I'm so excited about it, and it's got the original patterns in it in mohair, and I'm a lady of a certain age who gets really hot, and I couldn't wear a mohair top, I don't think. I think I would just be miserable. I'm already like hot most of the time, so that that wasn't an option. So this in the sock weight was just perfect. And then I thought, oh, that hand spun that I showed you last time, the red, the sort of red and green coloured stuff, this. Now I thought I didn't have enough for a whole garment because I had about, what did I have, about 700 or 800 meters, and then I looked at the meterage required for the Cloudbow, and I thought, if I make the sleeves quite like this length, rather than the choices for the sleeve length are sort of this length or this length, but if I make it this length, there's probably enough. And I thought, well, we can try, and if there's not, I can either try and get some more of this to spin, or and just pull it out. That, I mean, that's the thing about knitting. If it goes wrong, you can just freaking well pull it out. It's not permanent unless you want it to be. So I cast it on, and it's, I have to say, it's all squished up on a tiny needle, but I'm really pleased with how it's going. So I decided, because that one was so oversized, and I'm already, this is thicker wool, thicker yarn, and it's on a bigger needle because I didn't have the needle size, so I thought, oh, I'll knit the size 4, and then if it's a little bit more fitted, that's actually okay. And it will be. Oh, look at this. I made this wool. I spun this. Look at that. So this is the shorts. Sorry, you can hear my needles clacking. There's not much I can do about it. So this is the really short sleeve, so it comes to here, and I did the same thing with the I-cord edging because I just love it. Look at this pretty wool that I spun. And because it's like a combo spin with 2 different colorways, nobody else in the whole world will have wool like this. It's just for me. How cool is that? So yeah, that's the sleeve. As you can see, the neck hole is not as wide as well, so it's going to be much closer fitting here. So I've got the sleeves done, and I've picked up all the stitches for the body, which you can't really see because you can sort of see the seam there, and I'm just knitting down, so I have this much wool left. The nice thing is the sleeves are done, so basically I can just go until I run out, and we'll see. We'll see how long it is. I don't think like a cropped peplum would work because it would look like you run out of wool. So we'll see how long it gets to see what I can do, because the other thing I was thinking I could do is I had quite a lot of this left over, and I was thinking, well, I could undo the peplum and I could maybe stripe in, but because that's thinner than that might look quite nice, having those more see-through sort of deep stripes. So I've got options, or like I say, I could try, but if I got more of this, because they're two different, I don't think it's possible, but I could see if I could buy something, a commercial yarn that is somewhat similar, but I mean, look at it, it's got a billion colours in it, so I'm not hopeful, but we'll see. It goes further than it looks, but it is a bit of a, well, wait and see business at the minute. We'll see. It does feel really nice. There's loads of different fibres in here. There's camel, there's yak, there's silk, there's some long wools, and it's, I should say, it's been dyed by Hilltop Cloud, knitting a Cloudbow out of Hilltop Cloud fibre, which seems about right. And I'm really enjoying it. I don't usually enjoy knitting on, I'm knitting it on 7mm needles, and I don't usually like it because they're too, I feel a bit like they're too big and I can't get into a nice steady rhythm. But actually I'm quite enjoying it. They're obviously not too big, said the actress to the bishop, so that I'm just whizzing through it and I'm really enjoying it. And do you know what, I think I might make another one when I'm done, because I've got, you know, the big cone of wool I showed last time, the one that's bigger than my head. Wouldn't that be pretty for a summer top? I think I don't usually knit the same pattern again, even if it's like socks, I'll just throw in a rib, or if it's a hat I have to knit something a bit different. I very rarely knit the same thing twice, and the fact that I am, and I'm loving it, and I'm planning the next one, is a little bit shocking to me. Like, who am I? But it's fun, and when you feel really nice in the thing that you made, and I've had so many compliments on it. I mean, they're all by all my friends who know that I knit it, and they're very kind ladies. But it is a nice feeling. So I like to say things like, oh, Stacey, I love that top. I go, I fucking made it. Which is a quote from the film Spy, which I love. It's a very silly film and it's very funny. And that was my terrible impression of Jason Statham. So there you go. Sorry to the Southerners. Not really. I'm not really sorry. And that's it. That's everything that I've been spinning and knitting and reading and writing and listening to, and I think that's it. So thank you very much if you got all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. I'm going to remember to do the YouTubey thing and say please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already, because that makes me really happy. And what's the other one? You know, that all the proper YouTubers say. Is it just like and subscribe? And next time hopefully there'll be 2 Whittles. Whittle squared. So yes, fingers crossed. And I'll see you then. Take care.